Welcome. Today, we're going to delve into a critical subject, the new economics of survival. In our current, often turbulent economic climate, the line between organizational success and failure is becoming incredibly fine. We're going to explore how AI, artificial intelligence, is not just an advantage anymore, but is quickly becoming a foundational tool for navigating and even thriving in this uncertainty. So let's begin with the central question, one that every business leader, every entrepreneur must confront. In periods of economic strain, what is the defining characteristic that separates the organizations that falter from those that endure and succeed? The answer, as we are going to explore in detail today, lies in a new capacity for real-time adaptation, a capacity that is overwhelmingly powered by artificial intelligence. Now, before we can properly analyze the solution, we must first have a very clear understanding of the problem itself. Let's examine the environment we're operating in. We are not just discussing minor market fluctuations. We're talking about a fundamentally volatile economic landscape where traditional models of prediction are becoming less and less reliable. And here we arrive at the core of the challenge. For decades, organizations have built their strategies on historical data, on the assumption that past behavior is a reliable predictor of future trends. But during times of significant economic pressure, that assumption breaks down. Consumer sentiment can shift dramatically and rapidly, making those old forecasting models obsolete almost overnight. This chart offers a very clear, very stark illustration of this phenomenon. You can see how, when household budgets tighten, purchasing power reallocates. Spending on non-essential luxury goods often sees a sharp decline, while spending on essential goods holds steady or even increases. For any business, being on the wrong side of that shift without the ability to pivot quickly can be absolutely devastating. So given this backdrop of unpredictability and chaos, how does an organization navigate? How do you find clarity? Well, this brings us to our primary instrument of study today, artificial intelligence, which functions as a kind of clarity engine in the midst of all this noise. Let's be very precise in our definition here. When we speak of AI assistance in this context, we aren't referring to some far-off futuristic concept. We are talking about a specific application of technology. It is the use of AI to conduct a continuous 24/7 analysis of the entire market ecosystem. Think of it not as a crystal ball that predicts the future, but as a sophisticated flight dashboard, providing a constant stream of live data on everything from market dynamics to consumer sentiment, allowing you to make informed course corrections in real time. So how does this dashboard actually work? Well, it's all about synthesizing vast amounts of data. AI systems can ingest and analyze billions of data points in real time. This includes unstructured data, things like conversations on social media or product reviews, which it understands through natural language processing, and it combines that with structured data, like your own sales figures or competitors' pricing changes. By connecting these disparate dots, AI builds a comprehensive, dynamic, and incredibly detailed picture of the market as it exists right now. Now, armed with this level of real-time insight, an organization can fundamentally shift its strategic posture. It can move from being reactive, always one step behind the market, to being proactive. So let's examine what this proactive adaptation playbook actually looks like in practice. This comparison really gets to the heart of the strategic transformation. The traditional reactive strategy is a bit like trying to drive a car by looking only in the rearview mirror. You can only respond to problems long after you've passed them. The new AI-driven proactive model, on the other hand, is like having a sophisticated GPS that not only shows you where you are, but also analyzes traffic patterns ahead, suggesting detours before you ever hit the roadblock. It's a fundamental shift from hindsight to foresight. And this proactive capability translates into very concrete strategic actions. For instance, an AI might detect a subtle shift in online conversations, indicating rising anxiety about a product's price. A company can then immediately refine its marketing to emphasize value, or, perhaps more powerfully, it can implement dynamic pricing, allowing it to adjust prices in real time based on demand, inventory levels, and competitor pricing, ensuring it stays perfectly positioned in the market. All right, theory is one thing, but to truly understand the impact, we need to ground this in a practical application. Let's analyze a case study from the retail sector to see how these principles create tangible economic value. Okay, so imagine a large retailer. Their AI system flags a sudden sharp decline in consumer interest for a line of high-end kitchen appliances. Now, in the old model, they might not notice this until the quarterly reports come out, by which time the losses have already mounted. But here, the problem is identified immediately. In response, the organization doesn't just slash prices across the board. Instead, it launches targeted promotions aimed specifically at customers whose browsing history indicates an interest but who have hesitated to buy. The result? They mitigate a potential loss, capture revenue that would have otherwise been lost, and strengthen their position. So, let's synthesize this. What is the ultimate economic implication of this capability? We're moving beyond a simple adaptation and into a new framework for what it means to survive and be resilient in the modern economy. This statement perfectly encapsulates the dual benefit here. On one hand, AI-driven adaptation acts as a defensive mechanism. It's a shield that reduces your exposure to economic shocks. But on the other hand, it's also an offensive weapon, a sword that allows you to gain a significant competitive advantage by outmaneuvering slower, less informed rivals. And this is the most critical takeaway from our discussion today. The standards have shifted. The ability to adapt in real time is no longer a nice-to-have competitive edge. It is evolving into a core, fundamental component of economic resilience. It is becoming the bedrock upon which sustainable, long-term businesses are built. So I'll leave you with a final thought to consider. If this capacity for real-time, data-driven adaptation is becoming this crucial, is it now, effectively, the new price of admission? Is it simply the baseline requirement for any organization that wants to compete and survive in the economy of today and tomorrow? That question, I believe, is one of the most important strategic considerations for any leader in the current era.